Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Imperfectly in Fact podcast. I am excited to actually share with you all today. And actually, this is part one of two parts about how to plan out your 2026. So, this is something that I did with myself. I have done it with my clients. I do it with those who are inside of IME. And there's slightly different ways that I'm doing this and breaking it up. But I did want to break it into two parts because I originally was actually going to record all of this in one episode. Then I realized it's probably a lot for you to listen through and take action on. So the first thing I'll say is if you want to listen through this and you're driving or you're out on a walk or a run, fantastic. Don't mind at all. Pause throughout if you have ideas or thoughts and voice note yourself or quickly add it to the notes on your phone if you're walking or something. But if you're driving, please add it to your voice notes instead. Do not type and do not text while you're in the car. But I also would recommend coming back to this when you have a time that you can sit down with a notebook by you or even with just your phone in the notes section. So that way you can really actually act on this, because that is the point of this episode and the next one, is that it is something that you can take with you and you can act on to really set yourself up for success in 2026. So if you haven't already, I had two other episodes prior to this one about my 2025 reflection. That's just a great way to kind of hear about my year, how it went. Secondly, though, episode after that was 2026 and my word of the year, which my word of the year is simplicity. I'm really excited about this. And honestly, that is what I've brought into this process that I am done for myself and I am doing with everybody else. And I'm now sharing with you. What I will recommend is remind yourself that this does not need to be complicated. It does not need to look any specific way. It does not need to be specific things that you going into 2026. This is meant for you to take the time to figure out, what do you desire for 2026? And I say desire, and desire, you can say it as, what is your intentions for the year? What are your goals for the year? What is your focus for the year? I do not care how you word it. When I say desire, that is what I mean, is what do you desire to accomplish? What do you desire to feel like? What do you desire to act on and create this year? So coming from that place, we're going to break it down. I'm actually going to have 5 steps for you today that you can do. And today is all about getting clear on what is your 2026 desires. So if you're all ready, pause, pull out a notebook, pull out your phone, the notes. You might hear my dogs behind me. They are joining in on this 2026 planning with us. So, and then if you did pause, make sure you press play again to jump right in. So the first thing I want you to do when you think about 2026 is I want you to get all the ideas of goals, desires, intentions for this year, dump it all out on a piece of paper. And probably it's going to take you anywhere from about 5 to 10 minutes, I'd be honest, unless you've already started doing this, which it is January already. You may have already done this, but this is a great time that just get all of it out of your head. I think I ended up with about 20 different desires for this year, and that's okay. I want you to dump every single thought, every single idea, every project you're wanting to create. I want it to be for your life also, though. So I want you to even dump what do you want to learn this year? What do you want to do in your life? What are the big desires you have for your life? So this is life and business, and just dump it, completely. Dump it out on your piece of paper. So if you're actively doing this, pause this, set a timer maybe for 7 to 10 minutes, or just free write and write out all the desires that you could think of and then come back to me. If you're still listening through, what I want you to do now is, if you have a word of the year, I want you to make sure that's at the top of your page. But I want you to take a moment and I want you to read through each desire that you wrote down. And what I want you to do is either connect with it, each one, or intuitively find the one that is the main desire. It is the driving force of this year. It is the one that everything, when you try to make a decision, very kind of similar to a word of the year or your word of the year. It is the driving, when you think about this desire, you will know whether to say yes or no to something, to an opportunity, to a potential client, to an experience, to a trip, to X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. But this desire is the one that above all is going to happen. You're going to make it happen. It could be something that you're buying a house. It could be paying off debt. It could be hitting 6 figures. It could be having X number of clients inside of your program. It could be having X number of recurring revenue every month. It can be anything. It can be business or life related. For me, to be honest, right now, mine is life related. And this entire year, and I shared this in the last episode too, a lot of my desires this year for the first time are actually life related. I think 6 out of my 10 are life related, and then there's 4 that's business related. And to be honest, it feels so good, and it is so uncomfortable at the same time, and that is okay. Make it uncomfortable, but make it a business desire, make it a life desire. I don't care. This is your list of the desires. You don't even have to share it with anybody, but pick a main desire that you connect to on a deep level that is your driving force, is that North Star, is whatever you want to say, top of the list. So do that. Then come back to me if you pause, and we'll keep going. If you're still listening though, we're going to just keep going. The third thing you're going to do is I want you to take that main desire. Once you figure it out, or your word of the year, or both. I actually connected to both is what I ended up doing. I connect to my main desire and my word. You could choose to connect to one or the other. I don't care. But what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes for 3 minutes, and I want you to think about your year. I want you to think, in March, I want to think about yourself and your business. In June, I want to think about yourself. In September, I want to think about yourself by the end of the year. I want you to visualize you having this word, this main desire as your driving force. And what decisions would you make? How is your business looking? How is your life looking? But I want you to do this in stillness. I recommend taking about 5 minutes of closing down your eyes and like truly connecting to this, and just allow what comes up to come up. Allow the tension, the frustration, the uncomfortability, allow what comes up to come up. But I want you to connect to that desire and word, or one or the other, for 5 minutes of stillness. If 5 minutes of stillness makes you uncomfortable, then do like 3 minutes, or start with 2 minutes. But I highly recommend doing that before we go in to the 4th step of this process in the planning stage. So once you go through your stillness, once you go through your connection to the desire and your word, we're going to go back to that desire list now. And what we're going to do is we're going to get really clear on what are the actual desires that make sense, that are practical, that are a little stretchy, stretch your capacity a little bit, but get really clear on 10 desires. But I don't want you to jump straight into that. What I want you to do, and we're really tapping into our intuition, to your gut here. I really want you tapped into that. That's why I wanted you to take the moment of stillness. If you haven't done that, do that first. Then I want you to look at your list, and anything that is not aligned with that main desire and that word, anything that just is out there, doesn't really make sense for this year. It doesn't mean never, but doesn't make sense for this year. Intuitively, if you're like, no, this is not it, I want you to go through and just cross them out. Cross out any of those desires. Then, and it might happen at the same time, this is the one I do say sometimes it happens at the same time, I want you also to go through the list and be like, oh, 100% this is happening. These are hell yeses. I am doing this. I am making this happen. I am X, Y, and Z. I want you to circle those. So you're marking out anything that just, nope, doesn't make sense. You're going to circle any of those that is like a hell yes, basically, for you. And then you're going to have those that are this in between. Firstly, if you already have 10 or more circled, those all, because they were not immediate yeses, are you mark out. Because remember, we're trying to get down to 10 or less desires for the year. And this is life and business. So it's 10 overall. It doesn't matter if it's 5 and 5. It doesn't have to be even. This is intuitively what you are thinking about is actually aligned for you, your life, and your business. Now, those in-betweens though, let's say you don't have 10 circled yet. I want you to read the desire, and I want you to tap into that main desire and the word of the year. And I want you to say, is this something I desire this year for 2026? And allow what comes up to come up. You might hear or think or see a yes or no. It might just be something that's just in this like in between mushy, I don't know what's going to rise for you, and that's okay. Everyone is different. What I want you to do is tap into each of those desires. And if it's a iffy and it's not one of the yeses that comes through, I want you to just put a little asterisk or underline, and that way you know that it could happen, but it's not a big driving force goal and desire to happen. So it doesn't mean no, but it doesn't mean, yeah, we're going to really reach for this and stretch for this. So really tap into that. And if it is something that comes up that's like, no, I really actually do want this to happen, then circle it. Okay? Make it, lay it out. Now, I mentioned if you have circled 10 or more, actually more than 10, I should say. If you've already circled more than 10, I want you to go back through that list and you're going to tap into each one. And your main desire also is one of those 10 desires, by the way. So it's really only 9 additional you're getting. But I want you to tap in, and very similar to those that were the iffy in between, I want you to go through and which ones can become an iffy, can become a reach goal, a would be nice, basically is how I think about it, is it would be nice goal, but it's not a main desire of mine for this year to happen. It's okay if it happens in 2027. It's okay if it happens not in this year, and would love for it to happen also in this year too. So tap in, get really clear. I want you to get down to your 10, and you do not move forwards until you are down to only 10 desires, including your main desire. And then we're going to get to our final and last step of this process. And what happens here is where we get to actually prioritize these, because I am all about prioritization. That is what I have been loving and enjoying doing. And there's 2 paths that you can decide to take with this. So you could actually go through your desires and list your main desire, obviously, is number 1. And you're going to go through each of your other 9 desires and rank them on their priority for the year. What is a must, first priority focus? Or you can go through and do it by quarter. And so I actually did it by quarter for myself. I have no idea what my members in IME decided to do, because we're going to review them actually in the next few weeks. So I haven't seen them yet. But I recommend, if you are someone who wants to know quarterly, I did that because how I looked at my desires is, when do I want to accomplish? When do I want this to happen? Or when do I want to be actively working on it? Like, one of mine is learning French. I know really the first quarter this year does not make sense, which means I might be able to start in the second quarter, but I knew Q3. So for me, learning French was a Q3 goal. Doesn't mean I have to be fully fluent. Doesn't mean I have to be conversational. But I know for me, Q3 is when I'm going to prioritize that for myself during that time. So for you, you can rank it based off one of those cities. Pause again. This will need to be deleted. So you choose the path you want to take. If you're on YouTube, say hello to my dog. You choose the path that you want to take. You can either prioritize number 1 through 10, or you can prioritize it by quarters. I don't care. Again, this is your desire list. You do it for what you want to do. And then I have some other fun things, but that's going to be in part 2, that from here, when you've done this process, you can be done and you can be like, yes, I got my desires for the year. I know the priority. I know what quarter I want to focus on these, and then jump into it. Put it on a pretty piece of paper. I actually created mine in Canva. It's going to be a background for me, probably on like my computer, my phone somewhere, have it saved just where it reminds myself. And then I probably will actually put it up in either my bathroom or bedroom where I get to see it every day too. Just like a vision board, that's what I kind of see this being. You could even take this and create a vision board off of it. And like each of your desires have a photo, have a color, have something to remind you of it. This is where you get to be fun and creative with it. I'm giving you the tactical strategy to figure this out and narrow it down so it's practical and makes sense for you. Now, run with it. How do you keep it in front of you? That's one of the most important things, is getting it in front of you. If you want to keep going in this process, next week or next episode, if you are listening to this kind of a few times by, which by the way, you can do this whenever you want. I actually recommend coming back to this probably quarterly to reconnect to your desires and make sure things haven't shifted or flowed. You are evolving, your business is evolving, your life is evolving. Something may happen in Q1 that changes the direction of your life and business for Q2 and beyond. Come back and do this again. Instead of maybe doing a full dump of everything, it'll be reviewing your desires for the year and then just determining, are there some things that need to shift? Some things that were a reach maybe that now need to shift into more of a priority desire, and something else that kind of shifts away. You get to decide, but that's what I recommend. But part 2, we're going to expand on this. There is another step that you can take to get really intentional, specifically around Q1 and priorities for the next 3 months. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of knowing your numbers. So look out for that episode or head on to the next episode so that you can do that. If you enjoyed this, I would love to know. So please shoot me a message on Instagram. It's linked down below if you don't already follow me or connect. And secondly, if you are enjoying the show, I'm going to ask, because I am still practicing this. I really struggle with it still for some reason. But if you're enjoying the show, whether on Apple, Spotify, or any listening platform, I would be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated if you would leave a review and or rating for the podcast so we can get this in front of more people. And if you feel called and there is someone in your life that you want to listen to this to, please send it to them. Also, this is a fun little exercise to do with somebody else. So send them the episode, see if they'd be interested in doing this with you, and schedule some co-working time, whether it's virtually or in person, and like jump in and do it together. That way you have someone to bounce around with. If you get stuck on, is this an iffy? Is this a no? Is this a hell yes? Like, it's great to be able to talk through with somebody else, which I am always here if that happens. It's something that we do, like I said, inside of IME that I love, is the whole prioritization and really narrowing down our focuses and priorities. But obviously, if you're not in there and you're listening, go find a friend, a business friend, a life friend, and go through this process with them and share this episode so you can see if maybe they would be interested. But I appreciate you. Look out for part 2 soon. And here is to an amazing day for you listening.